Greetings, my dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Reading Epic Threads. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels, joining you from Houston, Texas, this March 19th, 2025 at 3:26 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Yes, we are in the tyranny of so-called daylight savings time, and boy, does it suck. Every single time I look at that clock and I say, well, they stole an hour from me. But it's okay. I just like to bitch, and you know it. All right, so I'm going to do three pieces today, and of course, we are going to focus on two pieces from Seth Keshel and one from the wonderful Juliet Ochieng as an opener. So let's check it out. But before we do that, my friends, right now here on Reading Epic Threads, I want to show you something. I don't know if I'm just going to play this for you, okay? Just look carefully. You see what you're seeing in the background there? Yeah. It's a very familiar sight, isn't it? Extremely familiar indeed. It's just a plane. And they always said, oh, the thing coming out of that plane, that's just condensation trails, right? You could still it still looks like what you're accustomed to seeing, but we have P900 and P1000 Nikon cameras that can zoom in from enormous distance and produce enormous detail. And just from this level of zoom, you can tell that ain't no condensation. What the hell is it putting in the sky? But it gets better because we're about to zoom in even closer. Hold for processing. Of course, I'm going to fix this video. But look at this. It's just pure, disgusting smoke and particulate schmutz. Guys, you need to detoxify yourself. And studies have shown that zeolite, suspended in humic and fulvic acid, binds to heavy metals and microplastics. You can look it up. Binds to heavy metals and microplastics and allows your body just to pee them out. One of the effects that it's had on me is that I've started dreaming again. Another one of them is that I did get sick right before the election, but I'm pretty sure I worried myself sick. Other than my little meltdown before the election, I haven't been sick. I've gotten testimonials about this stuff binding to phlegm and just getting the phlegm to all come out of the body. Or another thing is it makes me perform sexually better. And I don't know how else to put it. I've got a baby on the way, so, something's working. But anyway, go to epicminerals.net and use promo code FREEDOM30, celebrating my new independence as a content creator, 30% off everything at epicminerals.net, including the powerful detoxifying zeolite extra spray with humic and fulvic acids. Get it today. This promo code is one use per customer, so make it count. And now, from my friend Juliet Ochieng at Juliet, Juliette, Ochieng, OCHIENG.com. Oh, nice. JulietOchieng.com. She's got her own domain name. This episode of Baldylocks blog is entitled Trump is a Copycat. DJT knows a good idea when he hears one, drinks down. You'll know it when you hear it.
Hi, everyone. This stack of books right here is called the Federal Register. For decades, copies have been printed, bound, and sent to thousands of government offices all across the country, every single day. And while you might think that most people just can't wait to dig into their copy as soon as it arrives, the truth is no one reads this thing. And that's because it's been available on the internet for years, which means taxpayers have been funding some pretty expensive doorstops. So we're putting an end to that, saving you millions of dollars each year. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Everyone knows that getting rid of the deficit will require some tough decisions. And that includes cutting back on billions of dollars in programs that a lot of people care about. But what should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anybody. Waste we should be getting rid of, even if we didn't have a deficit. We're off to a good start. Over the last 2 years, we've pulled the plug on all kinds of ridiculous practices. Apparently, the government used to overnight containers filled with nothing. Don't ask why that is. Sure, some of these cuts aren't that big, but no amount of waste is acceptable. Not when it's your money. Not at a time when so many Americans are already cutting back. Just as families are living within their means, government should too, so we can invest in the things that we know will create good jobs and grow the economy. Things like education and technology. Besides, after a while, all these cuts add up. Already, we've identified about $33 billion in savings just for this year. And we're not finished, not by a long shot. Did you know the federal government pays for a website devoted to a folk music ensemble made up of forest rangers? They're called the Fiddlin' Foresters. I'll put their music on my iPod, but I'm not paying for their website. And there are hundreds of similar sites that we should consolidate or just get rid of. By the way, you're not only paying for websites no one needs, you're paying for thousands of buildings all across the country no one uses. For the last decade, the government's owned a massive and completely empty warehouse in the middle of Brooklyn, for example. Now, the government hadn't been able to sell this building and others like it because of red tape and Washington politics that held things up for years. But we're finally cutting through all that and plan to get rid of these buildings in the months ahead. All of these efforts to target waste and make government more efficient have been a priority for my administration since day one. But as we work to tackle the budget deficit, we need to step up our game. We need to go after every dime. We need to make government work for you. That's why, starting today, I've asked the Vice President to lead a renewed effort to hunt down misspent tax dollars in every agency and department of this government. We're calling it the Campaign to Cut Waste. And I know Joe's the right man to lead it because nobody messes with Joe.
There's a new standard by which the government is going to function from this point on. The American people are entitled to transparency. By that, I mean they're entitled to be able to figure out where their dollars are going, and they're entitled to accountability to make sure that we're using the dollars for what we said it was for. That's our job, and we take that job very seriously. Look, a lot of this depends on new, sophisticated methods, but it also, we know, depends on relentless focus on making this a priority. Focus that can't be delegated. We're holding ourselves accountable, and we're deeply committed and focused on making government function better. We're not just eliminating fraud and waste. We hope to be instilling an entire new culture that not only our administration, but every succeeding administration will in fact pursue. We're going to give you the government you expect and deserve. So I want to thank you all, and we're ready to get to work.
I would like to send my, okay, there we go. You know what? I swear to God, Juliet had a longer piece that where is it? I don't know. I just don't know. Okay. I don't know why I thought this was a long piece. In any event, I misspoke. Next. From skeshel.substack.com. About time. Utah is getting rid of universal mail-in voting. Despite repeated claims that Utah's elections are to be envied, the only reliably red universal mail-in voting state is tightening the screws on the loopholes that enable fraud. Captain Seth Keshel. One state that has no excuse, given its ruby red status and low electoral vote count, for being the source of so much political pandemonium, is surprisingly tightening up the ship a little bit. That state, which hasn't backed a Democrat for president since 1964, is Utah, which gave us Mitt Romney, Evan McMullin, and a list of other pointless maladies such as universal mail-in voting. Prior to Trump winning Nevada last November, Utah was the only state out of 8 such universal mail states to have ever backed a GOP presidential nominee. Elections these days come down to math. Automatic voter registration plus universal mail-in voting plus legalized ballot harvesting equals a blue state. How do you like that math? Harris won 18 of 24 states with automatic voter registration in 2024, with just New Hampshire for Harris among states without it. 6 of 8 states with universal mail-in voting, and 16 of 25 with legalized or widely practiced ballot harvesting among states that combine all three sins. Harris won 6 of 7, losing just Nevada, which salvaged Jackie Rosen's Senate seat with the presidential race already decided and therefore inconsequential. Utah is aglow with cronyism and corruption, and their weak-kneed Governor Spencer Cox hasn't made things any better. You can read about his uninspiring reign as governor in a piece I wrote last April. Here, link in the article. In another surprise, Cox has referred to House Bill 300, which recently passed both chambers of Utah's legislature, as brilliant, given past adoration for mail-in voting. I'm surprised a state that prides itself on standing out from the rest of the red state crowd in nearly every field, such as mobile voting, appears to be moving forward with ramping down mail-in voting. Perhaps there's something we don't know about yet that is going to come out and make them look like gold by handling it themselves first. The growing left-wing population of Utah is lamenting House Bill 300's passage, which, gasp, requires voters to opt in for mail-in ballots rather than being sent one automatically, in a stroke similar to Florida's recent changes and those proposed in Arizona that the useless Governor Katie Hobbs vetoed. The bill was much more aggressive when originally filed by State Rep. Jefferson Burton, but of course has been whittled down by colleagues who don't want to face the wrath of people like those below, who somehow mustered the fortitude to appear at an in-person protest to protect the right to not have to show up and vote in person, or more correctly, to have the ability to not have to request a ballot, even if they'll spend 12 hours looking at a phone screen every day. The bill also creates measures to review the address database for voter registration anomalies, which, when combined with the shotgun approach of sending ballots to every name in the registration database, pushes blank checks, free ballots, into population-dense areas like Salt Lake and Utah counties, which have slipped in the past decade and made Utah less red than Tennessee. The obituaries for what is a fairly minor change meant to impose restraint on a vulnerable system are numerous. Quote, critics are also worried about the requirement that voters report an ID number on their mail ballots. College students, members of Native American tribes, and unhoused people often struggle disproportionately to meet requirements for state-issued ID cards, and as a result are more often excluded from voting. Native leaders in Utah were very vocal this legislative session in opposition to Burton's bill, in large part because of its new ID rules. HB 300 would allow Native people to use a tribal ID card while voting, but they would have to photocopy that ID and enclose it with the mail ballot. Voters who use a state-issued ID would not face that requirement. Ksenia Kniazeva, director of Nomad Alliance, a nonprofit that supports unhoused Utahns, said the people she works with constantly have trouble obtaining and maintaining photo ID. HB 300's requirement that any would-be male voter must input the last 4 digits of an ID card, she told Bolts, could pose an insurmountable hurdle for some. People registering to vote is already a way of them saying, I want to vote and I want a ballot. Kniazeva said, why would you want people to jump through more hoops? End quote. If people can't figure out how to use the internet at their fingertips and get an ID or request a mail-in ballot manually with a verified address on file, are we sure we want their votes? You know good and well that you do everything else in person. Take kids to school, pick kids up from school, take kids to events, shop for groceries, go to the gym, pursue outdoor recreation, get your hair done, take dogs for a walk, drive golf balls. The good news for the slackers is this bill won't go into effect until 2029, meaning you can watch J.D. Vance win your state by less than he otherwise should have won it. Then you can go through the life-altering struggle of logging into a portal, easier than scanning the QR code to link your Amazon Prime to a hotel's TV, to confirm you want to receive a mail-in ballot, which will be mailed to you in an individual effort rather than as part of a mass mailing to over 1.7 million active registered voters. For everyone else, prepare for more of this, a family trip to vote. Mail-in balloting has to go, and I suppose without sweeping legislative reform such as that proposed in the Mesa bill, it will have to be done gradually. Military stationed away from home precincts, the disabled, and perhaps few with other valid exceptions should be the only voters sending in ballots. While Utah House Bill 300 doesn't fundamentally alter the election's landscape, it should make ballot stuffing harder and offer a hint of integrity to the state's loose election system. And that is from skeshel.substack.com. skeshel.substack.com. Don't forget, guys, the special at epicminerals.net. Use promo code FREEDOM30 for 30% off at epicminerals.net. For those of you who can't get enough colloidal silver with humic and fulvic acids, and of course the zeolite extra spray, get it today, epicminerals.net. Promo code FREEDOM30, one use per customer, so make it count. And now, from skeshel.substack.com, The Sizzle, JFK Gate, busybody Chief Justice and humbled Democrat strategist, March 19th, 2025. The latest installment, designed to dig deeper into what the media won't tell you directly, my own read into the key stories of the day and what they really mean for actionable intelligence. Welcome to the latest installment of The Sizzle, Seth Keshel's piece, which provides a deeper assessment of what the news won't tell you when rattling off typically deranged headlines and untruthful narratives. These musings cover items and stories making the rounds in the news as we reach the last 2 weeks of March. 1. JFK files released. President Trump signed an executive order on Inauguration Day authorizing the release of all known and retained files from several infamous assassinations, including President John F. Kennedy's November 22nd, 1963. Yesterday, the release of more than 80,000 pages and 1,100 documents began, sending everyone into a frenzy to be the first one to put all the pieces together, friend and foe alike. This is arguably one of the first great opportunities for AI to flex its analytical power, but given its propensity for mistakes, those seeking the truth must be willing to wade into the depths of investigative analysis themselves to confirm or deny the most important hypotheses out there. Ex-user Ryan Tyre put out a long post supposedly generated by Grok X's in-house AI that pegs Lyndon Johnson as the key figure behind the assassination, with the mafia, Viktor Petrov, and the CIA as key accomplices. The AI answer pegs Lee Harvey Oswald as the patsy or fall guy for the incident. I received the link to Tyre's post this morning and dug into it myself, also by using Grok, which cried foul over it. Seth asks, how accurate is this tweet then? Grok responds. This tweet references a detailed analysis by Grok and AI from XAI, claiming to have reviewed 31,419 pages of newly released JFK files from March 18, 2025, which suggest a conspiracy involving multiple players, including LBJ, the CIA, the mafia, Soviet-Cuban elements, contradicting the lone gunman theory. The actual March 18, 2025 release of JFK files, totaling around 80,000 pages, contains no definitive evidence of a conspiracy or additional shooters, according to early assessments by historians and researchers, maintaining the Warren Commission's conclusion that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. Grock's analysis appears fictional or speculative, as no official records or credible reports confirm the existence of a 31,419-page document with the specific details mentioned, such as LBJ's direct involvement or a figure named Viktor Petrov. The National Archives release on March 18, 2025, was part of President Donald Trump's executive order in January 2025 to declassify remaining JFK assassination records, but initial reviews show it adds context on Oswald's activities, not a conspiracy. The tweet's claim about Oswald's role as a patsy aligns with long-standing conspiracy theories, but isn't supported by the newly released files, which focus on surveillance and bureaucratic records rather than new conspiratorial evidence. End quote. Here's the deal on the JFK files. You're going to have to read it yourself or break it into chunks for group research with people you trust to get to the truth. It would take a mere mortal 400 days to read 80,000 pages if reading and digesting 200 pages a day, and then even longer to make a full report on it. It is dangerous and irresponsible to trust AI with more than just spotting key points here and there for you to verify on your own. Here are my key beliefs about the JFK assassination. Oswald most certainly did not act alone, as evidenced by the trauma to Kennedy, entry-exit wounds, ballistics. The grassy knoll pictured above seems to be the most logical spot for the second shooter's direct location. Kennedy had a hostile relationship with the intelligence agencies and did not trust them. He also was hesitant to plunge America into wars of choice, so he was likely conspired against by spooks. I'm particularly interested in the James Angleton angle, particularly with JFK opposing Israel and other nations obtaining nukes, war hawks, and political rivals, along with various foreign nations who stood to benefit from his removal and from Johnson's presidency. 2. Roberts to the rescue. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts issued a statement criticizing President Trump for calling for the impeachment of District Court Judge James Boasberg, who jumped into the fray to protect Venezuelan gang members from deportation last week. Part of Roberts' statement reads, quote, "For more than 2 centuries, it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose," end quote. Trump isn't alone in his desire to oust activist judges and has been joined by numerous congressmen who, even though the impeachments aren't likely to get through either legislative chamber, are willing to put those votes down on paper for the record. I wrote a piece on Sunday entitled, "It is long past time to impeach activist judges. Here's how we do it," which singles out Boasberg as a bad actor. Quote, "Yesterday, Obama judicial appointee and U.S. District Judge for the District of Columbia, James Jeb Boasberg, jumped as quickly as ordered to prevent President Trump from deporting Tren de Aragua gang members under the 1798 Alien Enemies Act, going as far as to order the aircraft deporting these worthless animals to turn around mid-flight. Boasberg, a political sycophant, doing exactly what he was appointed to do, went as far as to cite concern over the well-being of those slated for deportation, apparently not giving a rat's ass about Americans killed by illegal aliens imported by his political masters over the past several decades. Unfortunately for Boasberg, those flights landed in El Salvador, and the deported were quickly processed for admission into that country's mega prison, open for business to collect the garbage of the world in one tidy place. Still, without intervention from a higher court, Boasberg's decision will provide lasting damage in the form of precedent. I don't think Boasberg cares about the animals deported to El Salvador. I suspect, rather, that he is looking to constrain Trump's creativity in amassing lawful powers to do extraordinary tasks, such as deporting 10, 15, 20, or even more millions of illegals in 4 short years, realizing that without mustering significant emergency powers, Trump will only be able to process deportations with what is currently staffed and funded. Boasberg's statement is basically, nope, you're going too far there, Trump. You have immigration enforcement operations already running, even though they're only on pace to get a few 100,000 out this year. Too bad. They're here to stay and permanently alter the future of America. Boasberg is a particularly vile human being, as you may expect any Obama appointee to be. Someone who is so depraved, he slips Taylor Swift references into his opinions. End quote. Justice Roberts, I shouldn't have to remind such an educated judicial scholar that the President of the United States is the head of the federal government and charged directly with upholding the rule of law and defending the Constitution, which you swore his allegiance to twice via the oath of office. In fact, here's your voice on my own video recording from 2017. You, on the other hand, are the conservative judge who upheld Obamacare in 2012, NFIB v. Sebelius, by calling the individual mandate penalty a tax, and who didn't allow President Trump to add a simple citizenship question to the corrupt 2020 census, Department of Commerce v. New York, 2019. Maybe it's time for you to stop protecting the wolves in our corrupted judiciary and brush up on the role of the chief executive. 3. Carville eats his crow publicly. Longtime Democrat political strategist James Carville, interviewing with Fox News Digital, owned his botched prediction that Kamala Harris would defeat Donald Trump in the 2024 presidential election. This is a necessary duty for one wishing to remain relevant, which will be difficult for Carville as the party embraces unelectable positions and further abandons not only the white working class, but now the minority working class. What surprises me about Carville's repentance is his continued reliance on polling. Quote, polls look even, all right. I thought that Harris had more money. She also had more storefront locations. She had more door knockers. Definitely had better surrogates with 2 ex-presidents out there. Trump was going around with Scott Bayer or something. And I thought a combination of all that would be worth $1.50. It was not, Carville told Fox News Digital in an interview. $1.50 references the popular vote margin between Trump and Harris. Someone remind James that the presidency is decided by the Electoral College vote, meaning there is no use getting involved in predicting presidential races without breaking it all down to 56 separate contests for electoral votes. Here's how it's done, James. The New York Times, meet the election denier forecasting the 2024 race. And there he is, Seth Keshel, your very own hit piece, Seth. Beautiful. And that is the sizzle from skeshel.substack.com. I have to prepare my show for tomorrow. I've got Stephanie all queued up. Taylor French is going to be our special guest for our, I guess, pilot episode, trial episode, whatever you want to call it. In any event, thanks to all of you for being here on Rumble. Hit the heart button or the thumbs up button. That's what it is. On X, hit the heart. Thanks to those of you who are watching right now on Substack, who are watching live. If you wish to watch me live, fumbling around and periodically pausing this to answer chats from my wife, you can do that. That's at readingepicthreads.substack.com. Don't forget to check out Crypto Curious every Thursday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 p.m. Central, right here on the P. Gunnels Rumble channel and P. Gunnels 1 Twitter, and of course, readingepicthreads.substack.com and other places. And on my Facebook, where I'm Cato Censor. Check that out. Anyway, let us. Oh, and don't forget, guys, you can use the promo code just once. Promo code FREEDOM30. Yeah, that's right. At epicminerals.net. Freedom 30 for 30% off. One use per customer, so make it count. Let us pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you tomorrow.